So Elijah, how much did you made on your first wholesale deal, bro?
First one was 25,000.
25 G's. And what lead source did it come from?
It came from a tax delinquent list.
Tax delinquent. Boom. What up, Wholesale to Million family? Today is Wednesday, so happy Wednesday. I got a special guest, you guys, subscriber first wholesale deal interview. So before I hand it over to Elijah to have him share with you guys his stories, how he got his first wholesale deal. Now, for those of you who recently closed your first wholesale deal, drop me an email, all right? Show me the picture of the checks, man. Show me the money to verify you, all right? Email it over to wholesale2millions@gmail.com. Love to bring you onto the show so you can share with everybody your stories and everything like that, okay? Now, for those of you who was curious about my December web class, I am going to do another one, which is December 21st. All right. It's another 2K web class exclusively for 20 people. It's $2,000 per person or per couple, where I spend a whole entire day with you on that day. I'll give you all the tips, all the tools, all the strategies, all the company, all the systems. The Khang script is included. The launch super marketing blueprint is included. There is no upsell or anything like that. On that day, I'll give you everything that you need, right? I'll help you come up with an action plan, a marketing plan, whatever your marketing budget is for those of you who's starting out trying to get your first deal, or maybe you're trying to scale your business up and to get to the next level. I hope you dissect your market. I hope you analyze another market if you want to go virtually. I'll give you everything that you need, man, to start and to crush it, okay? So if that's you I'm talking to, then shoot an email over to wholesale2millions@gmail.com. Here's one thing I can tell you, man, is that you cannot do the same thing and expect to get a different results. You see, if you don't want this holiday to be the same as the next one, dude, you got to take some time aside, invest in yourself, invest in your business, and take massive action. I'll give you the info, the knowledge, everything that you need, because I am the missing link to whatever you're trying to figure out, okay? But you have to put in the work. So anyways, you guys put your thumbs together and help me welcome Elijah. What's going on, bro?
I'm doing well, sir. It's an honor to be here. I can't believe it.
Dude, welcome. And first of all, I want to say congrats, dude. 25 G's, bro. Come on, dude.
Come on, man.
That's a lot of dough, dude.
Yeah, man. It's still a little surreal, but yeah. That's what happened. Here we are. After all that grinding and hustling, finally got a check.
I hear you, man. So, dude, tell us your story, man. Love to hear it.
Yeah, so I discovered wholesaling about May of 2018 through YouTube. I was just on YouTube. My wife and I were getting ready to finish our journey of paying off all our consumer debt. We spent like 34 months doing nothing but paying off our debt. So as we're getting to the end of that journey, I really started thinking like, what's going to be next? Once we're done, I really want to start investing. And I've always loved real estate. I was actually thinking of getting my license. And I just started researching on YouTube, came across Max Maxwell interviewing Brian Rigbu. Yeah. Brian is my guy now, actually. It's crazy how the old circle have come around. But I saw that interview, this guy making 6 figures as a part-time wholesaler. And I'd never heard of the word wholesaler in my life. But I'm like, this real estate, and this guy is doing it part-time, working all these hours. And I'm like, I want to know more about it. So for the next like 36 hours, I was just binge watching YouTube videos. Like it was a whole new world opened up to me. I'd never heard of this term wholesaling in my life. Researched it, I was like, whoa. And my biggest takeaway from all that video watching, Khang, was I could tell that people that were successful, it was just based on hustle. It was a hustler's niche. You can make a whole bunch of money if you're ready to hustle. And I'm telling you, I don't know a lot of people that can hustle more than me. So I told myself, I'm like, well, let's do it. If that's all it takes for me to be successful, I can hustle. So the next day I got on Craigslist and I just started calling for sale by owners. That's one thing I take pride in, is just taking action. I didn't really know how to talk, but I just started calling for sale by owners. And, hey, I saw you have a house for sale. Do you want to sell it to me? And I didn't know what I was doing. But the crazy thing is I found like a free script online. And like the second person I talked to, they really they were fitting the script. And I'm like, this sounds like it could work. Like it was going kind of according to plan. So I didn't get a deal, of course, but I just kind of let me realize that it could be real. So fast forward to October 2018, I went to We Live 18. And at that point, I was kind of making calls on my own, using free websites to find numbers, but I would single hand dial, I would go on a free website, twopeoplesearch.com, and single dial. And I was working hard because I was hungry, but I wasn't working smart at all, And then We Live 18 is where I met who would become kind of my unofficial mentor, Willie Coleman. I don't know if you know him, but the 18-year-old stud. You've probably seen him online at some point, but he's an 18-year-old dude that is killing it. He's done over $1 million in assignment fees now. But I met him there, and he was telling me, you got to start working a lot smarter. Right now, you're working way too hard to not have results. And he's like, you got to get mojo. You got to start, finding ways to be smart. So from there, I still went a year of just being consistent without a deal. A year without a deal, but I was calling consistently. I'm doing 3 hours a day. And then fast forward to May 2019 is when I really started telling myself that I feel like I'm not doing enough. I feel like I'm doing a lot, but I feel like I'm not doing enough. But I was still being consistent the best that I could. And so I started watching more videos, and I started learning that you have to do at least about 3 hours consistently, to really see if you can get some better results. So at the beginning of May, so May 1st, May 2019, I told myself, I said, I have to, no matter what, do 3 hours of cold calling a day, 6 days a week. 3 hours a day, no matter what. After work, I still have a full-time 9 to 5. After work, I have to go home, I have to do 3 hours of dialing. And my wife knows this. Like before dinner, she knows that once it's time, I gotta go. And so that's when May 2019 is when I started really making sure that religiously I was doing 3 hours every single day. So then, like 2 weeks into doing that, routinely, I'm cold calling, and I talked to this lady, and I've talked to so many people at this point, Khang, that almost instantly I knew it was a deal. Just because I talked to so many people at that point, like 10 seconds into the conversation, like I could already tell it was going to be going somewhere. So we talked, started building rapport, tried to figure out what her pain points were. She's from the Philippines. They bought when the market was down. They bought it for super cheap, and she was just ready to sell it, get rid of it for cash. I don't know if you want me to go into the details of that deal right now, or.
No, man. So basically, Elijah, just your story, and then leading into your first wholesale deal, bro. So
okay.
Is that your first wholesale deal story?
Well, that's what led up to it, and I can tell you now about kind of how the first wholesale deal went about.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was the call. I started calling that day and started talking to this lady. She was pretty motivated. She had this property that she had bought, when the market was down, and she said, I want to get rid of it. Ask her how much she's looking for. She said she wanted 120, which was way higher than what I know I needed to be for it to be a wholesale deal. But I know I was going on every appointment because I've heard from all the podcasts and all the videos that never rule out someone over the phone just because they're asking for, more than you think the price needs to be. So the price was high at 120, but she was motivated. She said she was flexible. I got the commitment over the phone that if I come over and we talk through the numbers, are you actually ready to do this? Because I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste my time. She said, yeah, of course, come over and we'll talk through it. And so I knew she was flexible. So driving up to her house, I told myself I have to get her to about 100,000. By the time we're done with this, for this to make sense, I have to have this property at about 100,000. So we started talking. I walk into the house and I met her. We built more rapport and we're walking around the house. This house was perfectly fine. It needed just a few updates. I kept asking her, you don't want to list it on the market? Are you sure you don't want to list it on the market? Why go through a cash offer? And she said, yes, I don't want to list it because they told me I have to fix some things and I don't want to do that. So I asked her, how much do you want for it? Well, she's like, well, you tell me because you're the expert. And I'm like, shoot, because I know you're not supposed to drop the first number. So, I look around and I knew I had to lowball her, and I just said, well, honestly, I'm thinking probably we have to be around like 80,000. And I was waiting for her to like kick me out, to tell me to get out, you know? And she was like, well, and when she had that reaction, I was so shocked. Like, she was thinking about it. I was like, wait, is this lady really considering 80,000 for this house that she said she wanted 120 for? And she was like, well, you know, can you come up a little more than that? I said, well, where are you thinking? She said, well, how far can you come up? I said, well, you let me know where you need to be. And she said, well, can you do what was her price? I think she said 90. And we negotiated a little bit, and we landed at, I think we finished at 90. I'm trying to remember the math because it's been a few months. Sorry. What was it? So I assigned for minus. Yeah, so actually we finished at 87 is what we end up finishing at, 87. So I think I offered her, I must have asked her like 80, she wanted 90, and then we finished in the middle at 87. So that was our agreed upon price, which, I mean, I knew almost instantly that it was a deal. So from there, my wife, we're both went to the appointment. I got in the car. We went to IKEA. We had to go to IKEA to go return some stuff. And once I got to IKEA, I blasted 6 of my cash buyers that I knew were serious. Just 6 of them. I just sent them a text with the property address, the photos, and I said, here's this property. I want to sign it for 105. I blasted it out at 105. And I knew these guys were serious because, I had a couple of deals that I fell through. A couple of them were because the price was too high. Others was because of title issues, but I already vetted this cash buyer that I knew that they were pretty serious cash buyers. So with 6 of them, one of them texted me right away saying, hey, I need to know more about this deal. The other one picked up the phone and he called me. He was like, hey, I want this house. I never buy a house unseen, but this one I know I want it like now. I was like, whoa, sounds like I got a deal. So he's like, when can I get in there? So it was owner occupied. So I had to be kind of cautious with the owners because I didn't want to have a whole bunch of people going through there. So I said, let's go there tomorrow. We went in there the next day. He did a very simple 5-minute walkthrough. He just went to look at a couple things and he was like, yep, I'll take it. So it was raining. So we go in his car and he said, I'll take it. Here's the assignment, or here's the EMD. And I was like, whoa. I was like, well, wait a minute. I was like, I took your offer, or I took your call, but I have other people calling me for this property still. But I'm prioritizing you. So how much can you come up for me to tell everyone else that the deal is dead? I'm telling the buyer this. And he said, well, I thought we already agreed on the price. I said, no, I put in there that is our best offer. So we're here right now. How much can you come up? And he came up a little bit, and I said, what's the best you can do? And eventually he finished at 112.50 is what we agreed on. So we shook hands, we brought it to the title company, and literally in 4 days, we're at the closing table, and I closed my first deal in literally 4 days of me getting under contract to being at the title company and getting the check. So that's how the first deal went down.
Boom. Wow. Hold on a second, bro. So you got to lock up on the contract for 87. You sent it out for 105. So initially you wanted to make about 18K.
Right.
And you sat in the car with a buyer, negotiate with the buyer. Now, my question to you is that when the buyer sits in the car or whatever you guys talk after he walks the property, you said, okay, well, you know what, where do, for me to tell all the other buyer it's done, like, you need to come up on price and let me know what's the best you can do. So when you ask him that first question, did he automatically say 112.5, or how did it arrive at the 112? That's what I want to know.
So he did not. So he went from 105 to I think 108 or 110, and I just treated him the same way that I did my sellers. you know, because I knew it was a hot deal for everyone to have called me back that fast. And I never gave them a price. I just told them what's the best you can do. And they gave me, you know, his first price. We talked a little bit, talked some more about other things. And I said, you know, I mean, is that the best you can do? The same way I would tell a seller, you know, I said, what's the best you can do? But I was also being cautious because I didn't want to get like, you know, not arrogant, but I didn't want to make him think I was just playing games.
Right.
And eventually he just made it clear that 112.5 is the best I can do. You're going to take it or leave it. And, you know, just it's your call. And at that point, he had came up enough that I said, you know what, that's pretty good.
Gotcha, bro. Okay, so hold on a second. So now, what's the ARV?
ARV, I had it at about 180, just because a property next door was, you know, they had sold for I think a little less than that, but it was in a little rougher shape than this one.
Okay, so ARV is 180. What's the rehab cost?
I mean, I had it at about 15. I had it at 15K to 20K, just because to me I mean, it was cosmetic. I mean, that was my first time getting a deal, but it was cosmetic to me that I thought it was pretty minor. But the biggest motivation for that buyer was he had another property down the street that was a rental property for him. So I think that played a lot of factor into him wanting to, you know, he was telling me like, this is great because I literally am going to have two properties on the same block that is less of a hassle to check on both of them. So, but I had repair at about 15, maybe 20K of just, you know, touch up and carpet paints and other minor things.
Gotcha. So now, Elijah, so this buyer here, was he going to flip it or is he going to keep it as a rental?
He was going to do it as a rental or a cash out refi, but for sure he was not going to flip it. But cash out refi was his game plan, which makes sense. Why to me, he probably wasn't going to pay more than maybe others would have.
Yep. Okay, good. See, the thing is, I got to ask all these questions for those of you who's listening, and you'll be like, well, the number doesn't even make sense. So that's why it makes sense, because this buyer is going to keep it as a rental. How much can you rent this property out for?
Like upwards of 1,500.
1,500?
Correct.
Okay, now this property, is it an A, B, C, D neighborhood? What kind of neighborhood is this, man?
It was on the nicer part of town. I would say, I mean, not less than B. I would say B plus.
Okay, so it's a B plus. Okay, so now in this area, Elijah, does buyer buy it at a 1% rule, man?
That's one thing I've came to learn. Before this, I was just doing, you know, ARV times penalty minus repair, and that's it. Like, I have to go through that. If it's not a deal. And man, I'm already looking back, like I've probably lost a lot of possibilities because I have buyers now, because I've done few deals since then. I have buyers that will buy at 1%. I have buyers that they'll use 1%. Some of them, they don't even do formulas. They just say, can I make 30K from this deal? And how much work will it take to make 30K? They're not worried about, like I have some buyers that they're not worried about doing calculations. They just look at it and say, okay, it's going to cost me 15K. I have a crew. They can do that in a week. If I can make 30K, I don't care. So I have just all kind of mixed different buyers now.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, same here, bro. I mean, you know, see, the thing is, when you first start out, yes, you're gonna miss out on a lot of opportunities. That's where experience comes in, right? That's where experience comes in, and the more experience you get, right, and the more of this that you do, you start to understand and you start to see opportunities in deals that newbies or people that are getting into the business that don't know about. And that's why the long-term people are able to get much more deals under contract, is because they're able to see the opportunities, and also to their pool of cash buyer is larger. So at this one, dude, I mean, at this one, you can, I mean, obviously at a 1% rule, man, it seems like you can probably make even more than, you know, I mean, a little bit more than the 112. So and then just to touch base on what Elijah just said, there are buyers. So that's why you got to constantly continue to building and growing your cash buyer, because some buyers don't look at it like what we look at it, where we were taught, oh, minus 30%, right? That 30% discount. And just like you, man, I passed on a lot of opportunities when I first started, because anything that doesn't fit the 30% rules, I'll just pass it on. But now we have buyers that's okay with 25% discount, 20% discount, I also have buyers that just like you, man, that just like, okay, you know what? If I spend 30 days and I make 15K, I'm happy, you know? So they're not worried about percentage. They just look at how much they put in, how much time, and then if they walk away with X amount, typically these are, you know, like the contractor, right? The GC that already makes, you know, maybe 100,000 a year, and now if they can do their own little flip and they make an extra, you know, 15 or 20,000, and they're happy with it. But to find those, you got to continue growing your network. And for me, and I'm going to ask you too, man. For me, those kind of buyers coming from networking with realtors. So I want to ask you, man, where do you find your buyers, Elijah?
I just started building a relationship with realtors, but initially, investor Facebook groups were pretty good to me.
Mm-hmm.
Craigslist was pretty good. This cash buyer, I found him, I think through Craigslist. I think it was from my earlier deal that I had on the contract that fell through, but he saw it on Craigslist and he reached out to me. So we had a good conversation. He was pretty serious about it. I saved all those contacts that sound pretty serious, but Facebook, Craigslist. Now I'll use like PropStream to see, you know, which cash buyers I've bought, you know, around that property. But I would say Facebook and Craigslist are pretty much my top to go, and networking. You know, networking, you start hearing about people that are pretty consistently buying in the area.
Right, gotcha, man. So, and what's the earnest money that you had down with the seller?
I had $3,000 non-refundable, and I told him before he showed up. I said, by the way,
wait, no, man. With the seller.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did $10 on my purchase agreement. I'm sorry. I thought you meant with the buyer.
No problem. So $10, the earnest money with the seller, and $3,000 on the buyer's end.
Yep, I told him, you know, before he showed up, I said, hey, I'm not gonna have a bunch of people walking through here. If you're serious, make sure you come with your check in hand. And it was $3,000, and he showed me before we even walked through the property that if I like it, we'll sign the papers right now.
Gotcha, bro. Okay, so for those of you who's listening and said, hey, you know what, Craigslist, a lot of tire kickers, could be scammers and all of that, because we kind of know how Craigslist is. Now, I think people are going to enjoy this, bro. How do you verify your cash buyer? When you get on the phone with your cash buyer for the first time, what are some questions you ask them to verify if they're legit or too quick?
That's a great point. And Craigslist is kind of too legit to quit. Craigslist is
too legit to quit. Come on, dude.
Oh, man. Shit.
Are they too legit to quit, bro? Okay. So let us know, dude.
I was on the thing with you and your wife a couple of days ago, and she was ready to smack that thing out of your hand.
Oh, yeah, man.
No, Craigslist has pros and cons. I mean, Craigslist does come with the folks that are pretending. There are other wholesalers that are posing as cash buyers, which I never understood that. You know, why not just tell me that you're a wholesaler? Maybe we can do a business together. But when I have someone reach out to me and they see a property and they say they're interested, I have some very, very straightforward questions that I ask them. First of all, I ask them, what kind of properties are you looking to buy? Tell me about the properties that you actually look to buy. Do you like to do major rehab, or do you like to do light rehab? You know, are you just looking for a quick flip, or do you take on gut jobs? So tell me what kind of properties you like to flip. Tell me what area you're buying, right? So what are your hottest zip codes? If I bring you a property at this zip code that you would jump all over, right? What else do I ask them? Tell me. I'll ask them when's the last time you closed? What was the last property you closed on, and where was it? Because I want to see what kind of job you did. And if you're someone that is posing to be a cash buyer, you're gonna start stuttering at that point, you know, because you never bought a property. So I'll ask them, you know, where you bought last. The same way Max taught us at We Live 18. The last question I always ask my cash buyers to vet them is, if you found out I got this property under contract for $1, right? If you find out I got this property under contract for $1, and I'm assigning to you for $100,000, do you care how much I make? That's the very last question I ask all of them, because if you're counting my pockets and you're wondering why I'm making this much money, we will never do business together, because you should never care how much I'm making from all the hustles and all the work that I do. But those are kind of the main basic questions that I ask the cash buyer to vet them if they're legit or not. to make sure that they're legit. They're too legit to quit.
Make sure that they're legit that they're not gonna quit on you. That's right, man. So, okay, so okay, man, great. Those are some great questions. So now, when you assign it, and I know people are gonna ask this. So, is 25,000? Is 25,000 in your? Is 25,000 in your market? Is it pretty like a average assignment fee, or is that above a normal assignment fee?
Definitely above, because since then I've done some small ones. I've not got up, I've not gone up to 25K yet. I've been close, but it sounds like it was more than what most people were doing here.
Okay.
Yeah, most people are kind of averaging the typical 5-10K. You might
Yep.
see 15 sometimes, but 5-10 is kind of sounds like the average in my market.
Gotcha, bro. So 5 to 10K average in your market. So tell me, what's the ARV go for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath in your market?
Well, that all depends on the area. I mean, we have, I'm in the Twin Cities. I'm in Minnesota, and we have places like Minnetonka that are 1 million plus houses, and then you can go to North Minneapolis where you can get a duplex for 165,000.
No.
When
I mean, like, I'm talking about the market that you just mentioned. People get an average of 5 to 10K. What's the ARV like?
I would say maybe 200, 250.
Gotcha. Okay. So the one that you got, the one that you made 25K on, that's the market that you're kind of working. The ARV is around the 200. So.
Yeah. So are you talking like the neighborhood specifically, or like the city that I'm focused on? Because I only do deals in my city that I live in. So
Yep.
I want to make sure I'm understanding you.
That's what I want to know, dude. I want to know the deal that you're working on in your city, or the city that you're wholesaling in. What's the ARV
Okay.
like?
Yeah. I would say, I would say anywhere between 200 250 on average is kind of average ARVs.
Gotcha, bro. So 200 to 250. Okay, man. 200 to 250 ARV, bro. Your average assignment fee, bro. I think you can get up to that 15K. See, 5 to 10K to me is probably the market that you can buy a duplex for like 50K, or you can buy a house for like $5,000, right? And then fix it up and whatever, right? The ARV is roughly right around 100,000 or so, right? And that's where you get the 5 to 10,000, assignment. But to me, in that 2 to 250 price range, dude, I think an average assignment fee, it depends on how you negotiate, obviously, and the seller motivation. But I think that average side should be like, you can get up to that 15 or so. But anyways, dude, so this one, 25K, you got a 3,000 non-refundable from the buyers, and it closed in 4 days, 4-day closing.
4 days.
Nice, bro. Got it. So now the next question I'm going to ask you is that when you assign it to your buyer, does your buyer know how much you make off the bat?
Not off the bat, because I was kind of nervous. He kept reassuring me that he doesn't care how much I made, but when he signed the assignment contract, before he signed, he was like, well, I don't know what I'm being assigned, so can I see the original purchase agreement? So I crossed off the dollar amount that I have the property on the contract for, because I didn't want him to see how much I had on the contract. I knew he would see it before he signed, the closing papers, but I was just nervous that if he saw it right now, maybe he would back out, but he kept reassuring me that he didn't care. So he didn't know until like pretty much the closing day how much I was going to be making.
Okay. Okay. So let me ask this question just to reassure everyone that's listening. Now, the reason why I point out, Elijah said that his ARV market is 2 to 250. The reason why I point out that you can get an average assignment fee up to 15,000, because some of you are new into the game, and some of the buyers, some of these people are trying to play you, and they set a price for you how much you should make. Dude, you can make whatever you want to make as long as the number makes sense for them. So if your buyer said, typical assignment fee in this area, people make between 5 to 10,000, and you're making 15, dude, that's a lot, dude. That's BS. Okay. So don't let your buyer trying to play you and dictate, right, how much you should make. You don't tell them how much they should make on their rehab. Why should they tell you how much you should make or allow to make? That doesn't even make sense. Okay. So that's why when it comes to working with buyers, it's very, very important. So I'm going to ask you this question, Elijah. So on your assignment fee, so listen, those of you who don't understand this, most of your buyer, before they sign the assignment agreement, it's normal for them to ask to see the purchase and sale agreement between you and the seller. The reason why is because now they step in your shoes, they're going to buy the property, so they need to know what they're responsible for. So whatever that is that you agree with the seller, maybe they don't agree with it, and all of a sudden they sign the assignment agreement. Now they're taking over everything that you and the seller discussed about, right? So that's why they ask to see it, to make sure that they agree to the original purchase and sale agreement with you and the seller. So I'm telling you, it is completely normal for a buyer to ask you that, okay? But what you want to do is just like what Elijah just did. You want to block out the seller phone number, email, because you don't want them to get in contact with the seller, and you block out the purchase price. I also black out the closing date. The reason why I black out the closing date with the seller, because I don't want the buyer to be like, hey, well, dude, you have 60 days on this. Why you're in such a rush, dude? Like, you know what I mean? Like, they'll be like, well, why are you in such a rush? I mean, they can close in 10 days, but when they see that, they'll be like, you know what? Man, I got another property closing. Like, they're going to try to play all this with you and say, hey, you know what? Dude, I'm still going to close on it, but can we do it for 20 days? Can we do it for 30 days? Because they see that you have it for 60 days or 90 days. Dude, I tie property up for 90 days or even longer. So you want to black that out, okay? So because the goal is to get the buyer to close as quickly as possible, because those of you who are in this business and you do this, you understand until the check's the money, it's in your hand, dude. Nothing is for real. Nothing is a done deal. Anything can happen, okay? So that's what I would black out. Now, I want to know this, Elijah. So when you set up the assignment agreement with your buyer, how do you not so how did the buyer not see how much you make? Because shouldn't it say you make X amount on there?
I've seen that. The way that my assignment contract was is the purchase is what he is buying it for, not showing original plus assignments and now here's a total amount, which I've seen a lot of that version. Mine just says that I'm assigning my original purchase agreement to this buyer for a total amount of this. Does that make sense? So that's just the way mine reads. It doesn't say original minus or plus assignment for this total amount. It just says one number, and that's how much he's buying it from, including my assignment fee.
Gotcha, bro. Well, that's exactly how our contract's set up as well. Now, here's my next question for you, bro. Is that so? It doesn't say your total assignment. It just say how much he purchases for, right? So he's buying it for 112. Let's just make it even. So the buyer's going to buy for 112. So at the time you're saying your title company, your attorney will close on it just with the purchase price, where it doesn't on the assignment agreement, it doesn't say how much the assignment fee is? Or do you have to now drop like an addendum to actually spell out how much the assignment fee is?
No, because they have the purchase agreement. I mean, that's the first thing I bring to them is the purchase agreement. So they know how much I have it on the contract for with the seller. So that's the first thing I brought to them was that. And then when they get the assignment fee, I mean, they see what the difference is. And they'll take out anything that the seller has that needs to be that needs to come out of the seller's proceeds. So that's what the title company is there for. They're gonna do all that split themselves, right? So there's a mortgage on the house. Part of the seller's proceeds is gonna go to that amount. Here's how much the buyer is buying it from. Here's what the wholesaler is getting, and they're gonna do their math themselves. And I confirm that. I mean, they before closing, they're gonna send me the HUD to say, here's what we're gonna be signing. Are you okay with that? Which is gonna include my assignment fee. So the title company, they do all the splitting of what needs to go where, if that makes sense.
Yep, gotcha, bro. So yeah, so basically, you take the purchase and sale agreement, send it to the title company, and then you get the assignment agreement between you and the buyer. The buyer's gonna buy for 112. So the difference between the 87 and the 112, right? Whatever the difference is, that goes to you, and the title company gets to take care of all that. Now, I want to tell you guys that every title company or attorney operates a little bit differently. So for us, our assignment agreement doesn't say what our assignment fee is, but before we close on it, we need an addendum that the buyers need to sign on what the assignment fee is. So that's why I asked Elijah that question, because his title company is cool with it, saying, hey, they'll work out the difference, whatever it is. That's perfect, right? That's just perfect. But in our case, my title company wants to see the total assignment fee on it. And that's why I asked you that question. So for those of you who gets the title company and they said they can't do this, they can't do that, well, a lot of times they don't know what they're doing. Because I get people asking me, so Khang, well, my title company said, well, they can't double close. My title company said, well, you know, that the assignment fees, the seller also needs to see it. That means you haven't found the right title company or the attorney to actually do this for you. So you need to continue to find the right one. Okay. So I think that's pretty much it. So you guys, I think we got that covered. If you guys have any questions, comment below. And also too is, if this video add any value to you, please show my guests some love, smash the thumbs up, and give this video a share, man. Love to get more people onto the channel. So now, Elijah, how do people connect with you, man?
Instagram. I live on Instagram. I have a DJ side of me, and that's what I use it for. But now I post a lot of my real estate content on there. My Instagram name is DJ BANKE. DJ BANKE. So Instagram. I've DM'd Khang like 3 times. I was like, hey, I gotta get on your interview, man.
Yeah, dude. I mean,
So
I get a lot.
Instagram is a go-to.
I mean, I got a lot of DM. So.
Right. No, I totally understand.
So now, Elijah, for those that are starting out, man, obviously 25,000, dude, it's a large amount. So they're trying to get their first deal, man. What kind of tips, feedback can you give to them, dude?
The first thing I would say, you can watch all the videos in the world, and I think it's good to understand what it is that you're trying to do, but it's not going to make any difference until you've actually taken action. And I know it sounds like a broken record, but you have to take action and actually start doing stuff. Part of the thing that I did, Khang, is when I found out about your channel and I found out about those Friday calls, I got to confess to you, we've talked before. More than once, actually. More
Really,
than
dude?
once on those calls. I know, and I know it's against the
you're a
rules,
cheater,
but
bro.
where I'm going with this is, when you have something like that, someone like Khang that is willing to take out time on this Friday, which is like the weekend has started, and is willing to get on the call with you and give you, that's free coaching. That's the way I looked at it. I'm like, I don't care if people can hear me messing up. Like, that's free coaching. So I got on and you gave me like an 8. But I wrote down all the notes that you were set from that call of, here's what I would do different, Elijah. Here's where I think you should sound like this. I took that, and the next day that I started calling, I would implement that, right? Because to me, that's free knowledge. So you can sit down and watch all the YouTube videos you want, but you have to get out and actually start taking action and start doing something about it. And you'll be so surprised if you stay the course. Since my first deal in May, and I'm getting ready to close deal number 6 now, and I never would have imagined that within a year, I mean, less than a year, my goal is to actually close out the year at 6 figures. And it looks like that very well could happen because my pipeline is full. But that took a year of not seeing a single deal, not a single deal in a year. But I knew what my life was like now, which wasn't bad. But I knew that if I could just get a little taste of closing a deal, and I can reaffirm that this business is real, there was no turning back. So just take action and just stay the course. Don't worry about the people that are closing in 2 weeks, that are closing. Khang, it took you what, 6 months? You said 6 months, 9 months?
Heck yeah, dude. 6 months, bro.
Yeah, so don't worry about the checks you're seeing on Facebook groups that they're saying they're closing in 2 weeks and 2 months. There are a lot of people like us that did take a very long time, but I promise you, once you do close that first deal, you will realize how real this business is and how much it can really change your life, And so that's my best advice to anyone just starting out.
Boom. I love that, bro. So for those of you who don't know, man, Elijah, thank you so much for the kind word, man. And obviously, thank you on the Friday Live Cold Call role play. For those of you who don't know, I'm doing it every single Friday, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard, where I get on a call with one of you, all right? And then I'll give you some feedback, some tips on what you can help you improve on your call. Because to me, talking to seller is the #1 skill set, man, that you need to learn and you need to master, because that's what's going to separate you from the rest of the other investor, right? How you talk to them, how you communicate, how you build a rapport, okay? And how you negotiate. The better you are at negotiating, I'm telling you, man, the better the deals that you can get, okay? So anyways, if you want to join me, it's every single Friday on YouTube, all right? 9 a.m. Pacific Standards. If you haven't followed me on Instagram, hit me up on IG. Go to Khang, Khang, dot like a period. Now, if you need help talking to seller, negotiating with the seller, you don't have to handle rebuttals, objections, or anything like that. Maybe that's your weakness. Or maybe you have never closed a deal over the phone before, where you don't need to see the seller, right? You don't need to see the property. Dude, I'll show you exactly how to do that in the King Kong seller script. Best investment, I promise you, that you ever made. It is the game changer. Because once I know how to talk to seller, bro, that's when my business went to the next level. Okay, the link is in the descriptions. Anyway, Elijah, I want to say thank you so much, bro, for coming on and share with everybody your stories and your first time wholesale deal. Truly appreciate it. Until next time, you guys, take care and ciao, bro.